low $4.95 trades, you'll save a bundle while you're making it.
Top Picks is brought to you by Questrade, where you can trade stocks for $4.95.
We've got Michael Smedley's Top Picks, starting with Exploration Orbite. I think it's kind of the horseshoe factor here. Didn't these people just stumble on some rare earths, essentially?
Well, that was just a few days ago they did announce. I think it might not be true. They probably knew it was there, because don't forget that rare earths are everywhere, rather like uranium. You know, it's almost in your cup of tea. And, they've got these clays in Quebec, which is not really the main focus, where they have just announced certain rare earths and scandium. And I asked the company, is this similar to the clays in southern China, where half of the vital rare earths of the world are generated? And they said yes, but we're not saying any more than that. You know, and gave me a small Quebec smile, you know, because obviously they're Quebecois with a name like that, Exploration Orbite, I guess.
But
they are.
You like the prospects for this one, though?
Well, I like it, but it's in the main, it is that they have this process. Now, one must be careful about processes, but they appear to have achieved success and are with a revolutionary production from these clays of alumina, which is normally taken from bauxite in the tropics, where heavy rains create it. So they have about 1/3 the cost, or a little bit more, and their pilot run is said to be commercial, and 10 or 12%, 13% of all the world's aluminum is produced in Quebec. And the world is now of aluminum is sitting up, taking notice, visiting. So it's potentially very exciting, although I will always say, process, does it work? But it appears to.
Yeah,
so I think there could be a sensational future here. But that is your risk. But it's a new business. And the rare earths, I don't know anything. We have really no details about that. Everybody has rare earths. You went to the Prospectors show, everybody suddenly now this year has rare earths, every mining stand.
Paget Minerals, PGS.
Yes, probably a name not known. It's not followed by anyone yet, and the stock was issued, I think, by RBC Dominion. This is a very interesting, sophisticated group of miners who've, their latest announcement is that they've managed to secure ownership of this asset in British Columbia, which is, I think, called Ball Creek. It's 47,000, I think it's hectares, or it might be acres, and it's adjacent, very, very much adjacent to the Red Chris, Galore Creek, all that area, and twice as big, and hasn't been touched in exploration by the private company that they acquired it from since about 2008. It's copper and gold, the usual metals, but it looks very exciting, and they have no hesitation in naming it their flagship asset now. It's something they always wanted. They bought lots of other assets from the same company. They've now managed to get this very cheaply, 5 million shares, and about payments amounting to 4 million. They also have assets in Colombia, quite a big piece of an interesting private gold project, and elsewhere, I think in Arizona probably, I just forget which. So it's an interesting one, but do be very careful, because I think it's trading around 24 cents. It really is one that you've got to be patient with, because they won't be dealing with Ball Creek perhaps until next year. So don't expect this thing to go racing up furiously.
We'll watch it closely.
Yes.
TMX Group, you like the look of this as an investment?
I think there's safety to it because of this proposed deal. I think also it's personally, I think it's a total con job. I think the TSX, they ought to be paying, in my view, $5 to $10. I think it's kind of tricky that they are actually calling it a merger of equals, because for years, and I'm quite closely associated because our main fund is listed in London.
Yes.
So I've seen all this through the years. And what they have is they've had visits through, for 10 years. 10 years ago, they used to visit Canada desperately to try and get resources companies to list. So now we're saying for free, you get the lot.
So you think...
And I think there ought to be another deal here, and I think it ought to possibly include Australia, which is the other major resources market, and the AIM market in London. Something else ought to be contrived. I'm not talking from a patriotic viewpoint. I could, but I'm not. I think common sense to me is that we've seen Victoria advancing on us and we've all laid flat on our backs.
Do you think that TMX is selling itself short here?
I think, oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. And indeed, they're inquiring about interlisted trading. I've had calls from them. They've asked me, what do you see by way of interlisted trading between Toronto and Australia? So it's absolutely hopeless.
Oh, you mean London? Between Toronto and London?
No, I'm talking here. Why, I don't know exactly why
sure.
they're asking, but
Yeah.
they're asking about Australia and Toronto. And the stocks that are interlisted are totally pathetic in one place. Our stock does not trade, our Canadian General, in London, but we have the advantage of being acceptable for registered plans and things.
Interesting. Well, let's move on to your. That's interesting that you feel, along with some other people on Bay Street who feel that TMX is worth much more than it's being valued at in this offer. Let's look at your past picks from April of last year, Michael. Brookfield Office Properties, Medusa Mining, lovely run there. That's an African mining play, I think.
Yes, that's Philippine.
Oh, I'm sorry, Philippines.
Medusa is very low cost. Cost will go higher, but production will. Actually, it was 100% a little while ago, so it shows you the little correction that's going on everywhere.
Let's put up a one-year chart for Air Canada, Michael, because we have to ask you, did you sell in that big runoff? Because Air Canada has come off quite a lot, AC.B.
I sold a small part of it. It's tough now. I think the fuel factor has possibly driven it a lot, but if you try to book a flight to any desirable place, forget it. You won't get on the plane, you know. And I think they're tough. They know what they're doing, and I guess you've just got to hold on now.
Michael, thanks so much.
Nice to see you.
Michael Smedley, I'm sorry, of Morgan Bean and Associates. Oh no. I'm Andrew Bell. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow at the same time.
That's the way our ball bounces. Switch to Scotia iTrade and get up to 100 free trades. Scotia iTrade. What do you trade for?
At Porter, we believe that traveling for business